Hello, my name is Bianca Spriggs, and this is my Practice Mini TED Talk. The title that I have for you today is Nurturing the Inner Child. You'll hear me talk about the lack of communication and where it could stem from. You may be wondering why you see a painting on the wall. Well, guess what? It's not a painting, it's lipstick. My 3-year-old loves to draw and loves to make beautiful artwork. She ran in the room with excitement just to tell me that she made me a painting. I come in, and to my surprise, it's my favorite lipstick smeared all over the wall, including her face. Now, normally, the way I was raised up, I would have gotten a spanking for doing something like this. Now that I have a background of child development and family relations, I know a little more of how that could do damage more than it can encourage the child not to draw on the wall again. So after this event happened, me and her father and Marley, the 3-year-old, sat down together and talked about the importance of coloring on paper and not coloring on the wall. We told her what our expectations were, and she nodded her head and said she understood. So the next day, I had a long paper spread across the door, a glass door. And I explained to her anytime she wants to color, she can pick up her crayons and she can color on the paper. And I told her that writing on the wall is not a good idea, but coloring on paper is a great idea. So after a while, she noticed she got quiet, so I went and checked on her, and it was to my surprise, she was so eager to show me that she colored on the paper. So, yes, that means our talk was effective. We communicated effectively with Marley about not coloring on the wall and making sure she colors on paper. So, that conversation was effective. I gave her a high five and I applauded her and I told her how very proud of her I was. So, that's how I know that it was effective. Children's brains, it only takes about 3 seconds for them to forget what you tell them to do. So, the importance of nurturing the inner child and communication is that you have to continuously repeat the same thing over and over again. The key is to not talk about what they are doing wrong. The key is to acknowledge what they are doing right. I believe divorce, quitting jobs, quitting hard tasks, like maybe trying to start a business and finding out that it's hard and quitting is it stems from the fact that we were not nurtured enough as a child. I believe it to be true. I think communication is important, and it is important to teach our children how to communicate effectively. I'll give you an example. I got so used to when I got upset when I was a little girl, just walking away and going to my room. And even before that, I was trained that if I had a certain type of emotion, to go into my room and deal with that emotion. Versus talking about the emotion with my family or my mother, I was trained to go into my room and get my attitude together, which for me made me feel like putting on a mask. So that carried on into my adulthood. But within my marriage, in the first year, a big issue was communication, which is a big issue and one of the number one causes to divorce. So, with my husband and I, when I would get upset and we would bump heads and we couldn't come to an effective agreement, I would get upset and I would walk out of the house and I would leave for maybe about an hour or two. Now, I'll tell you two ways that this affected both me and my husband. For me, it was easy for me to cave into the feelings of rejection and abandonment. And that was my way of dealing with it when I felt like I couldn't be heard, to walk away and to quit and to not come to a positive resolution to the issue that we may have been facing. Now, for my husband, the fact that I walked out stemmed into some of his emotions of growing up without a father, which can tap into abandonment and rejection as well. So both of us were affected by one action. Both of our inner childhood trauma showed up in our relationship, and we had to learn how to effectively communicate. Now, This did not happen overnight. It took time to actually let this happen. Now that we know the long term effects that could possibly happen to our children if we don't learn how to nurture the inner child and we don't know how to nurture effective communication. Now that we know that, and now that we know of ways that we could avoid having maybe send a negative message across to our children, you can also always visit my website, Bright and Brave Enterprises. This is a business that is founded on basically child development. My job is to inform parents, to educate parents, to give them help them with resources on how to effectively communicate with their child and how to acknowledge each feeling. You can find out more at babeprices.info.